there. We are Laurie Delk. We are the Gratitude Girls. This is Laurie.
I'm Laurie Delk too today. Good evening. I am Kathryn. RaRa's in the house. Asaro Myers. It's so much fun, Laurie. We said we're hanging out. This is what we're doing tonight.
And we are obviously live.
Yes. Live, what would you call this? Uncut.
First.
Yeah, this is totally uncut. Well, we are so excited to be here tonight for so many reasons. There are so many awesome things happening. So first, maybe Laurie and I will just give a quick review to our guests where we are calling from and what part of the world we're in, and whoever is watching for the very first time know what's going on. Laurie, I love when you tell the story, and I know 1 month you're going to say, no, you want me to tell the story. But I'll tell you where I'm sitting right now. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and this is a relatively new location for us the last 6 months. If you haven't watched our show for a while, last time I was in the Niagara region, but we're here and we're totally loving it. And Laurie's in the United States, and that's where, well, she'll tell you. I'm from New York, so I am of both minds. But Laurie, can you tell a little bit about like where you are and why are we here? What are the Gratitude, or what are the two Laurie Delks doing here?
Yes, so I'm outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and yes, so our story, Gratitude Girls, came about almost a little bit over 5 years ago now, right? Or almost 5 years ago. And so Kathryn and I are in a company together called HANGOUT Cards. It's a greeting card and gifting company, and it's direct sales. We are actually cross-lined to each other, but we met on stage. And so every year there's a theme for the year, and there's usually one person in the company that is awarded that theme for the year. And one year they had a tie. And I believe it's the only year that they ever had a tie. And they announced Kathryn. And so I was doing everything that I always love to do, taking lots of pictures and video of whoever the winner is so I can send them a cool card with their congratulations. And then they started saying that there was a tie, and they ended up announcing me. And so Kathryn and I actually met on stage, and then after our little award part, then they sat us together in a little special section. And right then, she and I both just kind of started talking and synergy, and just we knew something was there between us and that we had to do something with that. And within like 3 minutes, Gratitude Girls was born.
Laurie, that was the absolute quickest birth I ever had.
Right?
Painless. Totally painless.
Yes.
We really knew. You can, if you're watching the show for the first time, Laurie and I are excited when we're together. We're always looking for a way to be together. I've actually just proposed this to Laurie 10 minutes ago. I love springing things on her. Like, hey, why don't we meet in this city in the United States in a couple of weeks? And Laurie goes to her calendar. So one of our goals is to travel and share this platform of gratitude with people all over the world. So whether we are traveling or not, obviously it's possible because that's what we're doing, but we wanted to be able to go places. And we have, since we started Gratitude Girls, we've traveled together. We've done shows on location together with our guests. We've done all kinds of really wonderful, interesting things. And we're so interested and open to do that. We're interested to be wherever you are. To be right in front of you and asking you what's your gratitude story. So one of the things that we like to do is to stay in touch with people from all over the world. And this show really gives us that opportunity to do that. Laurie, I wanted to share a quick little story for this moment, if it's okay with you. It looks like it's a good time. We all have different things in our life that makes us feel honored. And I was honored this morning with a request from my grandson. And I just wanted to share that with you because often in our day-to-day lives, we're doing things, for our business and for work and for our families. And we do that as well. And I have so many wonderful things to be grateful for when it comes to that. But today, a real honor for the very first time was my grandson asked me if I would be a speaker at his school. because there was a note that was sent around, and it was like 2 pages of explanation of if there was anyone in the family who would be interested to go to the school and speak on certain subjects. So my grandson called me right away, and I believe we were the first to respond to the teacher. It's such an honor to be asked by, and you know, he's 9, but I told you I call him the little businessman. Mm-hmm. So it's such an honor to be able to hear that request come from my grandson, that he wants me to go and speak to his school. So I think that's awesome. And that's a huge accomplishment to hear that, talk about, you know, unplugged, unabridged things that happen and real life situations. So I'm happy to say I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know what is it going to be like to speak to grades 4, 5, and 6. You know, 6 classes. It might be a tough audience for me, but yeah, I just thought that it would be something new and fun, because it will be probably the youngest audience I've performed for yet to date.
Awesome. Yes, that sounds so exciting.
It is. It is. Great. Thank you. And, you know, I love that we're just doing this live like this. So, Laurie, let me tell you a little bit about our guest tonight, if that's okay with you. First of all, before announcing, I want to applaud our guests, applaud you, Pat, for being the woman that you are and being able to jump right in with Laurie and I. Let me announce my friend, a woman I admire for so many years, a woman that I love speaking to, professional in every sense of the word. We used to live in Montreal, and Pat and I met years ago, probably around 2010. And we met as, like, we were in the same room together. I was presenting, I was speaking, my partner was speaking, my very good friend, Alex. And Pat was in the room, and I remember the minute I spoke to her and when I talked with her. And ever since then, we have been in touch. So Pat and I used to both live in the same province together. We used to both live in Quebec. And that's where she's speaking to us from right now. So I would like to introduce my good friend and a woman I look up to, Pat Snow.
Wow. Thank you, Kathryn, for that wonderful introduction. I love it.
You're welcome.
I was always so thrilled to know you for so many years, and you've made a huge difference in my life.
Thank you, Pat. It's mutual. Whatever happens to me happens to you. You know, it's a reflection. And I'm so excited that you're here exactly like this tonight. You are truly a powerhouse. Now, because we're live, everything you're doing, we can see, and that's fine. You know, we're good. Like, whatever happens, happens. But I honor you really, truly for jumping on. And maybe it sounds like I'm making a big deal about it, but I am making a big deal about you. I really am. Pat, let's see if we could tell a little bit about.
This is my first time on video, actually. I think.
Yeah. And
now that I think of it.
That's the awesome part. And talk about, you know, the beginning of what's next and what's happening. I mean, I know this is exactly the way you're going to be spending your days in the very near future. So, you know what? This is your manifestation tonight. This is truly, truly what you told me you would be doing, right? So here you are. Let's do some geography. Can you tell our audience a little bit about where you're at right now in terms of the world?
Well, where I live is in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And it's the part of Canada that's about 3/4 French. And the city I live in is about 60% or 70% French speaking. So most of us are pretty bilingual who live in this city. And what's also really wonderful about Montreal is it was founded about close to 400 years ago. And so it's probably one of the oldest cities in North America after Quebec City, which is another city in our province. And what people really love about it here is there's so much beauty, there's so much history, and important for many people is so much good food. Everyone here really appreciates the amazing restaurants. I know Kathryn, when she comes to town, she really loves them. And not only that, people here are really into fashion and they're into parties. Like we have many wonderful festivals. Other cities do too, of course, but any excuse for a good time, and whether it's a jazz festival or the ice castle festival, doesn't matter. Any reason to have a festival, it's always happening here. And Montreal also is quite a big tourist city too. Many people come from all over the world to Montreal, and actually they just had the NAFTA agreement meetings here in Montreal just today.
Awesome.
In the middle of the ice storm that we had today.
Wow. Yes, I know. It's quite a bit colder there. You know, Pat, this is great to be able to talk about the geography, because some of our guests, you know, unless they're watching the replays, they may just hear the city. I'm in Toronto, Laurie's in Tennessee, but you're painting a picture, and you're so good at that. You're really so talented when it comes to being clear and giving a clear message. And let me ask you a question. What brought you? Were you born in Montreal? Were you raised in Montreal? Or did you come from somewhere else? Can you let our audience know this about you?
Well, where I came from originally was Nova Scotia, which is a province in the maritime part of eastern, it's one of 4 Atlantic provinces at the eastern side of Canada. And so I guess you could say I'm known as a maritimer, and us maritimers, we maritimers, are known. We also love parties, like Quebecers. And we're known for our hospitality, for being friendly and warm and, you know, really good at meeting people and things like that. But actually, I did move here when I was about 5 years old. My parents moved here from there. But we have tons of relatives down there. And my mother originally was from England. But so I basically grew up in Montreal. Went to university here, et cetera, et cetera. Although I have worked in Ottawa and I've worked in Toronto.
Right. Awesome. And maybe the next trip that you're going to take to Toronto, you let me know, because I'm sure, well, next trip I take to Montreal, I will definitely let you know.
So, well, now you've moved back into the big city, right, Kathryn?
Yeah, yes. Well, we're pretty close to the big city. We're in Toronto, but not downtown like we used to be. So we're pretty close. So, Pat, let me ask you another question. So you've spent most of your life in Montreal, and it is a party city. There's no question about it. It's a great city to live in and to work in. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what is a day in the life of Pat Snow? So what do you do?
What I do is I work with small business owners up to about 5 employees, mostly service business owners. And if they're newer in business, what I find is they really need, if they've left a corporate environment and they've started a business, what I find is they were so used in their corporate environment to being very productive and very results oriented. And now they start a business, especially if it's as a consultant or a coach or another service-based business, they suddenly find themselves not being as productive and getting the results that they really expect to get right away. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're all incredible people. But there's certain skill sets and ways of managing time that are kind of quite different when you're a business owner as when you're in a job situation. Well, both of you know that because I know you both have your own businesses. The other kind of person I work with is people who've been longer in business, but suddenly overnight they've lost 40% of their business. They need reinvent and grow back up again. Or, hate to say this, but sometimes people, they're working so many hours a week that they don't even know that they are the problem, and they've become kind of the bottleneck in their own business. And they also need to reorganize how they spend their time. So that they work a lot less hours and delegate more and outsource. Well, now with a lot of online businesses, they're doing a lot more outsourcing, etc.
That's a great
never
point.
Boring. I love it. It's always fun. Business owners and entrepreneurs are always a great group of people to work with.
Pat, thank you. That's a great point. Now, I'm going to get back to that point about business owners getting in the way, and I want to get back to that. But I have a question, because you deal with so many businesses, and like you said, your life has been in Montreal, and you are from Nova Scotia, which I never told you I have this affinity for Nova Scotia. In grade 1, I did a report on Nova Scotia, and I've yet to visit, but it's on. I want to go visit Nova Scotia. I never got to share that with you. Yeah, it's been a place that's been on my mind.
That's funny, because in grade 4, I did this huge project on Colorado. Well, I've never been there either.
Okay, well, you'll go to Colorado, and I'm going to go to
Nova Scotia.
Yeah, you'll tell me where I should start out. But one of the things is you must have had more than one situations that something's come up that you've been extremely grateful for. A situation where you feel like it changed your life. Would you be willing, and maybe there's more than one, and I know that I'm springing this on you because we're not rehearsed, we're live. Is there a story that you can tell us about something that happened to you that you're truly grateful for, that you believe our audience would benefit from listening to? And I'm sure any story they would benefit from listening to.
Oh, there's probably several. One was when I used to belong to an organization called the Junior Chamber of Commerce, otherwise known as the JCs. And I was the last person on the planet at the time that they ever would have thought of as being the president. But there was no one else who stepped up to the plate. And I stepped up to the plate. Sounds crazy, but it was one of the best. I'm just so grateful that happened, because up until that point, I never knew I had any leadership qualities whatsoever. And I really had an incredible opportunity for training and development, but also to learn how to really have a backbone as a leader, and to, step up to the plate and have a big board of directors. And there was about 80 people in the organization. And I had an opportunity to take on huge projects that at that point in my life, this was when I was, in my 30s. And I had never realized that I could ever achieve anything like that. I'm very, very grateful for that to this day, because the skills I learned at that time have helped me for the rest of my life, actually.
Well, what made you make that decision to step up to the plate?
This, I guess, comes from my childhood scenarios. We all have those, right? And when I was growing up, the way I was brought up is, if you live in a community, you give to your community. And also, you have to step up to the plate. But I guess I had never been tested really in that way before. And I just felt that I had to do it, because if I didn't do it, no one would have done it, and everything would have fallen apart. And I find that I have done that a number of times in my life since then. And it always astounded me, well, how come no one else stood up, And I realized that I have that quality where I'll just step up to the plate, even if I don't really want to do it. And at the time, it wasn't that I didn't want to. It was more like I never thought in a million years that I could actually do it.
Well, you didn't have to figure out how. You just went and did, right? You just went right into the action part.
Yeah, what is that called? Fire ready aim.
Yeah, fire ready aim.
I think I tend to do that quite a bit in my life,
Well, that's exciting. Can you share with us, when you said you never knew you had those leadership skills, for those of our audience and those of us at times that we're not ready to pull the trigger, so to speak, we're not ready to fire first. What was going through your mind when you were in this situation where you did not know how it was going to get done, but you had already made your decision that you were going to be the one to do it?
I guess what went through my mind is that if I don't do this, this amazing organization is going to go down the tubes. And I guess I hate to see something fail. Maybe I had a little bit of a savior complex or something. I have no idea. But I just felt responsible, because when you're in a group, I guess maybe I felt it was for the good of the whole. It was really for the good of the whole.
That's a real team team spirit, Pat. You know, that's a really awesome quality to have. And for you to feel that, I'm sure those around you are to this day forever grateful that you've done that, because I know that we have kept our relationship long distance as it has been, but we've kept our relationship because of some decision we made. And I see that in you. You're such a loyal, totally loyal person. Now, you've taken this skill set that you've discovered and you've applied it to something in your life, and you work with companies and you have these abilities to see things for them. But, you know, what is it that really gets you going? What puts the fire in you, aside from, you know, working, getting paid for the work and doing excellent work? What happens to you in the morning? You wake up, and where's the thing that just makes you get up and go?
Well, I chose to work specifically with business owners, I guess, over 10 years ago. And why did I decide that? Is because I really saw, I've worked with people my entire life, mobilizing people, getting people, whether it was people in industry or in the public sector. But I decided to work with entrepreneurs because I really saw how entrepreneurs are quite isolated. Although they look exciting, charging on their big white horse, and, you know, this is sort of the myth and legend out there about entrepreneurs, but most entrepreneurs are actually pretty, the ones who are very successful are not really exactly big risk takers. They'll take calculated risks. But nevertheless, for the small business owner, and especially today, people are more and more starting businesses due to the diminishing jobs, etc. So some of them are accidental entrepreneurs. But what mobilizes me is that I see that people have so much potential, and they're very isolated. A lot of entrepreneurs tend to be lone rangers. Their spouse or is either not interested, or they might even say things like, well, why don't you get a real job? Or things like that. So I really feel that a lot of people cannot really reach their full potential without some support or some coaching, some training. And I guess that's similar to what goes on in the kind of work you do too. But what mobilizes me is that I'm never bored. I always have a lot of things to do. Like, I'm always either planning or marketing or working with people, or I'm goal oriented, I guess. I love to have goals and projects to focus on.
So, Pat, would you call yourself, I heard what you said, imagine the partner, the person, the man or woman in business that doesn't have spousal, I was going to say spousal consent, spousal support, and you don't have support from your spouse, and you're in this business and you get up every day and you're doing that, and you finally, that person finds you. So you're basically the person who would give the support that the spouse doesn't give, if that's the case. So you're the other half that might be tearing down, because when a spouse doesn't give support, it's more than not giving support. It is destructive.
It can be destructive, or other family members. But the thing is, very often the family, it's not necessarily that they're even trying to be destructive. They either are afraid of the family's finances, or they don't understand the hero's journey, or the journey that you go on when you start a business. And they don't understand that to start and grow a business, not only does the business grow, but you yourself grow as a person, your character, your personality, your skill set, your confidence set. Some people go out there and they're confident from day one, but most of us, if we've come from a job or, you know, a job situation, we might have been confident in our job, but suddenly, like even a friend of mine, she used to be the top saleswoman or the top salesperson for Xerox across Canada. And she said, I had no trouble with sales. I was like, never a problem. I was really a go-getter. The minute she started working for herself, she said, suddenly, like, you know, I have to sell myself. She said, suddenly she went into this procrastination and didn't know what to say. And she said, this was so ridiculous. but she had to go through some of her own growth in order to get through that, to overcome that. Because suddenly there was no like Xerox behind her or IBM or whatever. Suddenly it was just her. So that's one kind of situation. Sorry, I suddenly got sidetracked there.
No, that's okay. Pat, let me ask you a question. If you're going to give our audience a message tonight, and they are in a situation where they don't have support, or they don't have a family member supporting them, or they're new to their entrepreneurial life, would you give a piece of advice, please, of what that person could do if they're in that frozen or procrastination or whatever your friend had gone through? You went through that with her. What piece of advice could you give to our audience tonight when they're faced with that situation?
Well, I find that when people really feel stuck, sometimes it's good to call a friend or a fellow entrepreneurial person who you know is supportive, or it's good to write down everything and then break it down into the tiniest thing that you have to do and just do that one thing. Or if you're almost in a paralytic state, sometimes like just choose 3 things you're going to do that day, even if the 3 things are making one phone call, reading one thing, like just do anything. Because I find once you take the tiniest actions, that breaks the log jam. But also, it's really important for entrepreneurs to find a tribe of other, whether it's through networking groups, whether it's through a chamber of commerce, whether it's through being in a coaching group. Find support, because how can I say, united we stand. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but even though you all have your own businesses, people who are running their own business, they get who you are, like, and they really understand what you're going through. And whereas someone in a job situation, as much as they may love you, they may think you're the greatest thing, but they just don't get the journey that you're on. And not because they don't care or aren't interested, they just haven't lived it. So if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. You talk about people getting it, right? So that's important.
Mm-hmm.
You said surround yourself with a tribe.
Yeah. Well, it's like whether you're the Queen of England or us, we still only have 168 hours in a week, right? So when you're newer in business, you really need to, it's just the same thing as if you're out of work. You have to spend your whole time looking for a job. Or if you're new in business, you have to spend most of your time doing marketing and looking for prospective clients versus micro perfecting your website or getting the perfect business card, because that's what a lot of people do. They stall around. I did that too when I started. I had to have the perfect business card. I mean, who cares? What I really needed was sales, right? So in other words, focus on the one thing that's going to move you ahead.
Right. That's excellent advice. So let me spring this on.
And have fun too in your business.
Yeah, absolutely have fun.
Find stuff to laugh at.
Let me spring this part of the show on you. I'm going to ask Laurie if she has a question for you, and then after that question, I would like to turn the show over to you. So, I know I didn't give you any notice about this, but I'd like to turn the show over to you. And if you have a question that you'd like to ask Laurie and myself, whether it be the same question or different questions, I would like you to then ask us so that we can answer you. But first, I'd like to give Laurie a chance to ask you a question if she has one, and then I'll come back and turn the show over to you. Okay?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so my question is, so in your business, you Kathryn asked you about a gratitude moment, but what I would like to ask is, so you being able to teach and coach other entrepreneurs, what about that is your most grateful moment of where you have that gratitude that you can do that and help other people?
Actually, I would say I'm literally, well, I keep a small gratitude journal, which, grateful for every little thing every day. I always find that so important. And if you're having a bad hair day, get out your gratitude journal and find a few things to be grateful for. I find that is really such a gift. But what I find, I'm very grateful for all the incredible people that I've met that have become part of my life, that have made my life so much richer. Meeting all these people who are real creators. They may not be creating the Mona Lisa or a statue or a big artistic thing, but for all of them, their business is their work of art. It is their baby that they've created. So sometimes that's great, but sometimes because it's their baby, they get emotionally attached, and sometimes they need to take a step back, but I really feel grateful to have met so many creative, innovative people, and some of whom are starting businesses that you'd never think of in a million years. And I learned so much from my clientele. I'm always learning. And I'm very grateful for that too, because it's really expanding myself and my qualities. And I'm very grateful for that. And I've just met so many wonderful people, including you guys. Kathryn, especially, I've known her for a long time. And also, I don't know you, Laurie, but I've seen you on the Gratitude Girls. And I think it's such a great show that you and Kathryn have put together.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Laurie, I know we can ask Pat lots and lots of questions, but I like to turn the show over to you, Pat, because I know that you probably have a question. I'm just sensing you might have a question or two for Laurie and I. So, yeah, Pat, you go ahead, ask the question, let us know who you want to answer first, and here we are.
Okay, well, maybe I'll ask Laurie a question, because I know you do it a lot. Of course, maybe this isn't the right question for this show. I just love all that technology that you're doing, Laurie, and I used to think that I was good in it because I loved it so much, but I discovered that loving something and being good at it is two different things. And I'm just wondering, is this your main business, Laurie?
Well, I've done web and graphics design and marketing and branding for 25 years.
Wow.
So, but yeah, with that, of course, is a lot of technical stuff. And then I volunteer taught at my kids' Christian school for 5 years. And we did where our school software was, instead of having books and paper, all their books were on a laptop and their paper was on the laptop. And so with young children, I had to learn a lot of those technical things of how to fix kids' laptops because it would happen. And so just kind of a mixture of that. And yeah, so basically with everything that I do in business, if it has to do with a computer, I probably know it. If not, if it has to do with like technology, like a TV or a radio, forget it. I don't know a thing. Like, I don't even know how to turn our TV on. So if I want to watch a show, I have the kids fix it for me. So, but if it has to do with the computer, yeah, it just, I do. That's one of the things that I love to do. And I love to make things work. And that's what I've done. I've shown people how they can get their stuff on the web and make it look pretty and sell it, for whatever their expertise or their passion is.
So that's never boring either, is it? You're
right.
Always creating something original.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's one huge thing that I love. I don't like anything that's tedious. So yeah, changing, doing different stuff all the time for so many different clients and different things and different challenges that come up, and overcoming them and then, and then seeing the results. Yeah, I love that.
It also seems like a great way of mixing earning your income and weaving that around your family.
Right. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that everything fits in.
Yep. I get to work from home or wherever I'm at with a computer and internet and a phone. And so, as you can see, I'm in the middle of my living room. That's where my office is. I didn't want to be in a separate room, in a back room away from the family. I'm very family oriented. So my desk space is right in the corner of our living room. And so you can see our dog crate there and lots of my clutter and, but yeah.
You're where all the action is.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. So maybe I'll ask you something, Kathryn, is as we were talking earlier, and you've had, various careers, and you've had so many interesting things in your background, and I get a sense that everything that you've learned, like even though you're in a different kind of business right now, that what you learned in your earlier businesses, you can adapt it easily, and you learned a lot of skill sets that you're able to use now, and yet in your current business, you seem to have learned a lot of even more new skills and ways of using your personality and your character.
Yes, thank you for listening earlier today when we were chatting. If I hear the question, or maybe I hear the statement, and within that, the question I hear is how have I done that? So the careers that I had earlier were all people oriented, from working in the medical field, which is the very first job I had was dental and then medical, and then going into real estate, people oriented, of course, and then having a private practice with patients and clients and serving people individually for hours a day, for hours a day, many days a week. That makes it a very unique and special business. And then going into this career at the age of 50, reinventing myself, I was able to take all of those skills that I learned and the skill sets. I knew what they were, and then I decided I would try something. But, if I said try to get up, we couldn't get up. So I decided to do something, not to try. So I'm going to do that. I thought, well, I can do that. So yes, I took a new skill that I had, which was taking a risk, which was trying something new, doing something new. And I learned a lot.
Oh, I lost your.
Yeah, I saw it froze a little bit.
Okay, so we're back, eh? Okay.
Yes. So just to recap that too, I learned to meet people where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
To really meet them where they are in life, as opposed to what might be on the agenda for the day. And that skill set is more about being relaxed with people and who they are, and not having a full-fledged A to Z agenda, but to grow with people at their pace and to lead, as opposed to encourage, push, shove, prod, probe, or any of the above.
You mean no butt kicking allowed?
I find that in this last decade of my life,
I'm just teasing you.
yeah, I know you are. But I wanted to, for anybody who's listening, who's thinking of doing that with their team, you can try that, right? Like imagine you, Laurie, and I, somebody trying to kick our butts. Imagine, and I know your birthday is in October and Laurie's in September and I'm in April, and somebody goes and tries to do that. I don't know how far they would get, but if they put a challenge out there for something that we wanted, we would go and get it. We wouldn't need anyone to tell us to go and do that.
Exactly.
Right. And very recently, that's something that I experienced firsthand as well. No one has to say anything. So I learned that the less you say and the more you observe people, the more you truly get to be in their space with them.
That sums it up so perfectly. Because I used to think you had to do, like, do something and fix and all that kind of stuff. And exactly, the more I found, the more people, the more space that you give people, the more they show up.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I applaud you, Pat. I applaud you for showing up. I applaud you for jumping in. I applaud you for on the spot doing whatever you felt you could do. And this is your first time on a video webinar. Pat, and how comfortable would we have been any other way, but yet this is truly your own growth point for tonight, correct?
Yeah, it is. And I feel so grateful to be on with you and Laurie, because at least, and we're also having a dialogue. And then I think to myself, oh, this is a gratitude circle. And sometimes I tend to be a little bit too intellectual or sometimes in my head, and not like have big emotional stories. I'm just so used to the way I was brought up that we keep that all in, right? And so I thought to myself, maybe I should think of a more emotional story, because I think when I say emotional, I don't mean goo goo gaga emotional. I just mean, genuine from the heart, And that's one thing I admire about the two of you, is from what I can see, you're really able to speak so well straight from the heart.
Well, Pat, so did you tonight, because you on a live webinar demonstrated how you went after the thing that you wanted on the spot. I would call that a complete and total breakthrough live on our Gratitude Girls show. It's going to be here recorded forever. We will have this is a YouTube. We'll have this forever together. It's like another precious moment for us, right?
Well, next time I'm going to have to wash and get my hair done and all this kind of stuff. And
all right, we'll do that. We'll get back on and we'll get I'll wear makeup that night. Yeah, this is really, Pat, really, it's so great to be able to hang out together and to talk about where we are at and how we got here, and to be able to see you. I mean, this is awesome. We're not getting away from this now. We are going to see each other. And whether, we plan to take a trip or not, we just say, okay, you got your lipstick on, we're putting on the video camera.
And what's really great too is, like you were saying, you reinvented at the age of 50, and so did I. And so many people today, and I guess I always believed in that. My father used to say, look, he says, most people, they go to school, then they work, then they retire, and that's it, that's all. He says, don't do that. He says, all your life, he says, you need to always be learning and always take on new challenges. And I'm grateful to him for that. And I see that the era in which we're living makes that so much more possible than it has for previous generations, And,
yes.
and that's actually one thing that I'm incredibly grateful for, is the opportunities that we are able to take advantage of these days compared to the way things used to be.
And Pat, speaking of, I don't want the show to end without mentioning this awesome husband that you have, who has his hand in the flour, his hands in the flour, his hands in the dough, so to speak. So people can take that however they want, but your husband's got his hands in the creative part. Can you tell a little bit about what Eugene does, please?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to. One of the things I thought that would be a nice story, because I taught a workshop yesterday morning, which was 3 hours, and he made these incredible banana raisin muffins with poppy seeds on them, and low fat, low sugar. And of course, that's what everyone loves, compared to certain chains out there where if you try and eat one of their muffins, like eating a cake, they're too big, they're too sugary. And his are so delicious, but also healthy. So the group that was there, they really appreciated it. And I really appreciate that support of his when I'm doing workshops. And he also helps me with you know, techie stuff and all kinds of other stuff. And he makes videos and he writes a blog and that kind of thing. When I say he makes videos, not of himself,
Yeah.
but so now actually when I get my new computer and I have a camera in it, that's one of the things I'm going to help him. He's going to help me get it set up with the right lighting and have a right background and all that kind of thing, you know. So
Awesome.
because I'm starting a group coaching program that I'm going to do on Zoom, and so I need to have a really professional setup for that. So
wow,
a lot
that's
of
great.
exciting things going on, you know.
We'll want to hear about that. But Laurie, I hear an opportunity for a recipe here. Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love a recipe.
All right. Well, I'm wondering if maybe Eugene would share that low-fat muffin with poppy seeds with us.
Yeah, banana, raisin, whatever. Okay, sure. I have no idea what everything that he puts in it, but
if he would be willing,
I could always send it to you guys.
Okay. And if you send that, then we will attach that somewhere to this show. So could we do that, Laurie?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so we will put that recipe attached to this show and let Eugene choose the one that he wants us to have.
Okay.
On the market for a good muffin recipe.
Yeah, he makes marvelous muffins.
Okay, that's it. Eugene's Marvelous Muffins. We've just given it the title. Well, Pat, I thank you so much. Laurie, I hate looking at the clock. I don't want to do that, but I know it's 10, where we are Eastern is 10:17. And I don't want to wrap the show up, but what I would like to do is I'd like to say, Pat, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and
you're welcome.
Sharing your stories and for having this experience with us together. And I look forward to your hearing more about your Zoom coaching. And I'd love to be invited if it's possible. I'd like to be invited to one of those shows so I can tell everyone how awesome you are.
And then send me the bill at the end of the month, okay?
No. I want to give a true live testimonial about your awesomeness. And thank you so much. Laurie, is there anything else that we can say to Pat before we say goodnight to our audience?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, unless Pat just has, if you have one last thing really quick, you know, one more minute of something that you, I wish I would have said that, and just let our audience know just one more quick thing.
Sorry, you mean that I wish I would have said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Speak from the heart.
Excellent message. Excellent message, Pat. Yes, everybody should speak from the heart. I thank you so very much for speaking from your heart tonight to us and to our audience. And Laurie, for those who are watching, someone might be sitting in the audience saying, how do I get to be Pat Snow? How do I get to be on the Gratitude Girls show? How do I get to tell my story? Could you tell our audience, what do they have to do? Or what could they do? Or who should they tell? What if Pat has a friend that she wants to tell about how to get on the show? Please enlighten our audience for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/gratitude girls. And right there on our page, you could click message. And when you do that, that sends a message that goes to both Kathryn and I. And so we go over all our submissions all the time together and we review them and then call or email and interview people to figure out when we can fit you into our schedule that works with your schedule and have you on the air with us. So that way you can show and share your gratitude and your stories with the world.
Yes, thank you so much to our audience. And Laurie, I totally love having this time with you. It's something I look forward to. You know, they say women do things for other women more than they do it for other men. You know, I'm kind of getting ready and I'm like, oh, I want to show Laurie this. And, you know, I really do this all about us getting together. So it's true. We are highly motivated. I'm highly motivated to be able to show and share with you. So thank you for being my friend and for being my Gratitude Girls partner. And thank you for saying yes to the things that I ask you that you're not sure if they're going to work out or not. But, you know, you and I just jump in there. So I appreciate you. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to have other gratitude stories on our show. And we could do this till we're triple digits. This is just wonderful for me. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And thank you everybody for being on the show with us. And please tune in every single month. We are here the 4th Tuesday every single month, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain, and 6:30 Pacific, right at facebook.com/gratitudegirls or gratitudegirls.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night, everyone.